Okay, so this is lesson number 3 in our series of lessons on 3D shapes. Today we are going to be making a triangular prism, and clearly a triangular prism. What we're looking for is two triangles, one for the top and one for the bottom, or one for one side, one for the other. And then because it's a prism, if you remember in the last lesson we said that it has to have rectangular sides, otherwise it's not a prism. Okay, so whatever shape we're talking about, it must have rectangular, at least it must have rectangular sides. So because you've seen the lesson yesterday, you'll all be familiar with how to make a hexagon. Well, to make a triangle, you start off in exactly the same way. So I will cut out one or two of the stages because I'm assuming that you've seen yesterday's lesson. If you haven't, then it's probably a good idea to go back and watch that one first. Okay. So the first thing is, if you remember, you'll need a plate, okay, something, anything circular really, and make sure that it's small enough so that you can cut out two circles, and those two circles have to fit on a side of A4 paper, okay, so not too big, but certainly not too small. Then with one of the circles, doesn't matter which, what you do is you fold it in half, okay, and fold it in half. When you folded it in half, what you get is a line that goes through the middle of the circle, okay, and that line is called the diameter, okay, diameter. And then if you fold it in half again, then it tells us two things. There we go. So let's unfold that. So the first thing it tells us where the centre of the circle is, because those two diameters cross at the centre of the circle. So I can put a nice mark there to show you where the centre of the circle is. Second thing, it also brings us another word to do with the circle, which is radius. We spoke about this yesterday. And radius is half the diameter. So the radius is the distance from the centre up to the edge, okay, from the centre to the edge. But it doesn't have to be along the lines that you've creased it, that you've folded it. It can be along any line that you like, okay. Now what you then do is you fold it back in half, and then on the paper, on your circle, what you do, you use this length to make a mark across here. So if I put it on the circle itself and then show you what I've done, there we go, that slipped. So put that there and then put that just there we go, that's it. So you've got the centre of the circle on the edge of the centre of one circle on the edge of the other circle, and the edge of that circle on the edge of the other circle as well. And then you make a mark at that point there, and you make a mark at that point there. So if I do that, just there and just there, okay, and then you end up with two marks, and then you do that all the way around. So now when you're doing this marking out, take the time and do it carefully, because the thing about doing something like this, if you get the first one a little bit wrong, then the second one will be a little bit wrong and a bit more, and the third one will be a bit wrong and a bit more than that, and so on. And it's called compounding the errors. What will happen is it will get worse and worse and worse. So now I've put 6 marks on the edge, and I'll use this felt tip because the pencil doesn't show up so well. Okay, so you've got 6 marks around the edge like that. Okay, so okay, and the next thing you do is you don't actually need 6 marks. So what you need to do, what I suggest you do, is you put a tick next to one of them, then you miss that one out, and then you put a tick next to the next one, and then you miss that one out, and you put a tick next to that one, and that should be it. So you've only got 3 ticks. Okay, then what you do is you join the dots between those 3 ticks. Now you can use the side of your circle because that is a lovely straight line. So if I go from, oops, and don't forget you're going from one tick to another, drawing a line, nice straight line like that. And if you do that to the second point and then to the third point, you will of course end up with a beautiful triangle. Not just any old triangle, you will have an equilateral triangle, which means all the sides of the triangle are the same and all the angles in the triangle are the same. Okay, when you've done that, do it the same on the other on the other circle, and then cut them out. Okay. Okay, and what you should end up with is a few pieces of paper like this, which you don't really need, so you can discard those. And you should end up with 2 beautiful equilateral triangles. Okay. The next stage is to make the rectangles that go down which you use, the rectangles which you'll use to join the triangles. Remember, the triangles make the base and the top of the prism, but we need either rectangles or squares to join those. So what we need to do now is to mark out, or to cut out very, very carefully, some rectangles. So what I'm going to do is make sure that this paper is wide enough, or that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the triangle against this piece of paper and put a mark like that. Okay, so you've got a mark just there, and then what you need to do is to fold the paper. Well, then you need to do lots of marks all the way down. Now this is a little bit different because this is a bit different to the way we did the hexagonal prism, because I want to end up with rectangles for this one rather than with squares. Okay, so you should see now we've got a number of marks all the way down. So first thing is cut along that nice dotted line. Remember, with the great thing about having this on your YouTube video is that if there's anything that you don't get or anything that doesn't seem right, just pause the video, go back, try it again, and hopefully it will be a lot easier to understand. Okay, so this is one side. This is going to form one side of the rectangle across here. The next thing you need to do, and this is the very, very easiest bit, all you need to do is fold the piece of paper over, and you don't have to measure at all. Just fold over any distance you like, but make that distance fairly small, okay? And I'm not going to be any more accurate than saying that, fairly small. So you can see now that we have created, hopefully you can see from the shade there, we've created one rectangle, and then fold that down again, and then fold over so that you create exactly a second rectangle, and you do that again and you've got a third rectangle. So if I unwrap that little lot, okay, so you can see now you've got 3 rectangles, 1, 2, 3, okay. Cut those off, and I'll show you what to do next. Right, so we've now got we've just cut out the 3 rectangles. Now, if you remember from yesterday, we need to mark the tabs, the flappy bits, along the top and bottom of the rectangles, along the long sides, that is, of the rectangles. And these are the bits that we're going to use to glue onto the triangular shapes to form the base and the top of the triangular prism. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I will fold across where I've just drawn that nice thick line. Okay, so that is going to be, no, that wasn't a very good shot. Let's do this again. Right, so that's the flappy bit, if you can see that. There we go. So that's the flap. And to make it the right shape, because remember these are trapezium shapes, so can you see this very carefully cut? So can you see now we've got just there, we've got a triangular corner just here, and then so that will be the bit that we glue to the base and the top. Okay, I will pause the video now to do the rest of these, and then I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Right, so now we've got our rectangles with our flappy bits for gluing, and we've got the little triangles cut off the triangular corners. You can see it perhaps better on my shirt, I don't know. Anyway, those are ready for gluing now. So, put some space. So, start with your triangular base, and you glue. Remember, you only glue on the flap, only glue on the bit where you put the marker pen or the whatever it is, and put some glue just there, and put that on the edge of the triangle like that. Okay, so now you've got the base of the triangle, the base of the prism, and you've got one side. Okay, right, so to continue, what I've done now is I've glued the 3 sides, the 3 rectangles, to the side, to the base rather, which is the triangle. This is what, remember, this is what makes it a triangular prism. And now, get my final triangle. Now what I need to do is to just put some glue on this part here. And, put the lid, so the bit that I'm doing at the moment, if you imagine this to be a box, this is the lid of the box. Okay, so there is the triangle, and I'm not going to glue up all 3 sides, I'm just going to glue 2, because the third one is very difficult and takes a lot of concentration, and I can't do that and speak to you at the same time. So put that on there, oopsie daisy, nice. That's a good, nice join. Remember, when you're gluing, obviously depends the sort of glue that you've got, but most glues, they don't dry immediately. Most glues dry, you know, they take a few seconds to dry. So there we are. This is a triangular prism. Now, the triangles, remember the triangle, the base and the top, these are what make it a triangular prism. If this was a different shape, then it would still be a prism, but it wouldn't be a triangular prism. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the sides, the rectangles. The rectangles must be, the length of the rectangle must be the same size as the side of the triangle, because otherwise it just won't fit together. But the depth of the triangle, this direction here, if you can think about it, if this were twice as much, then the sort of the base would be about here. It would still be a triangular prism. Okay. Now, if you remember, with our other shapes, we talked about faces, and we talked about edges, and we talked about vertices. Remember, the vertices are the corners. So we wrote down the numbers for the cube and for the hexagonal prism, and now we've got the triangular prism. So the first thing we need to work out is the number of faces. Now this is fairly easy. In fact, I'm going to actually write them on. So the top face is number 1, so that's 1, and then that's number 2, which of course is upside down. So there we go, that's better. So that's 2 faces so far. Here's another one, so that's 3. Here's another one that I haven't written on, so this is number 4, and the next one will be number 5. So here's another one that I haven't written on, so number 5, so number 4 there, number 5 there, and that's it. Okay, there aren't any more faces to write on. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the number of faces in a triangular prism is 5. Okay, so for a cube it was 6, for a hexagonal prism it was 8, and for a triangular prism it was 5. Okay, so not necessarily even numbers now, we've got an odd number there. Right, let's think about the number of edges. If you remember, the edge, for a 3D shape, the edge is where 2 faces meet. So there's one face, number 4, and there's another face, number 2. So the 2 faces meet at this edge, just here. Now, I think the easiest thing for me to do is if I put a line that goes across there. Okay, so that line there, that's one edge, and there's another one there, and there's another one there. Okay, now if we turn it over, remember this is the bottom, so there's another one there, so we're on 4 so far, 5, 6. So far we've got 6 edges. Okay, so we've done all the edges which connect to the triangles, but we haven't done the edges which connect one rectangle to another. Okay, so we're on 6 so far. So there's number 7. There is number 8, and there is number 9. Okay, so when we talk about edges, we're talking about, there's 9 of them. Okay, so for a triangular prism there are 9 edges, 5 of those, 9 of those, and in vertices, well, this isn't too bad, I'll just hold this up. So vertices are the corners, the pointy bits. All right, so facing you there are 3, 1, 2, and then 1 just there at the bottom. Okay, so there are 3 vertices facing you, and then in exactly the same way there are 3 vertices that are facing me. Okay, in fact, if you can still see, remember where I put the ticks when we drew the triangle? So there are 3. So there are 6 vertices altogether. Okay, if you don't believe me, then when you've built the triangle yourself, you will see there. So 6. So put number 6 there. Right, so now we're building up quite a lot of evidence. So now it's time to sort of think about how these numbers work out. Okay, now you can't just say that, well, when we did the cube, there was a 6 there, and then there was a 12, and we thought, oh right, so this number is always twice as many. Well, it's not. 18 isn't twice 8, and 9 isn't twice 5, so that doesn't work out. That doesn't work out either. The other ways to do it is, if you remember, I said you've got to start thinking about adding up numbers. Okay. Okay, and if you remember, I said that the solution to this was if you play with the numbers and you add the numbers up and you take them away and you see what happens. So for each shape, look at the number of faces. Okay, then add to that the number of vertices, and then take away the number of edges. What's the answer? So for the cube, face is 6 plus vertices is 8, so 6 add 8 is 14. Take away the number of edges and you get 2. Okay, 14 take away 12 is 2. And then see how that works out for the hexagonal prism and for the triangular prism. And if it works out the same, then what you've just proved is that every single 3D shape that is either a cube or a prism, okay, hexagonal prism, triangular prism, or any other prism, always follows this rule and always gives this number to be the same answer. Okay, it doesn't work for pyramids, and it doesn't work for cones and spheres, but apart from that, all of the 3D shapes, it works beautifully. Okay, so I hope you have fun making the triangular prism. Take care, stay safe, be kind to yourself and to the ones you love.